Yeah, hello all. Thanks for joining. Good evening. And just wait for 2 more minutes. Let's see if someone is joining. If not, we'll start the session. And in the meantime, can you guys hear me and can see the screen? Please confirm in the chat. Oh, thank you, Srikant. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good evening, by the way. And okay, one quick question. So, uh, are you guys very new to IT or you're already experienced? Um, can you mention that in the chat? Again, it's not a mandatory thing. If you're fine with like mentioning it, you're please go ahead. Okay, the page is new to IT. That's good. How about Srikanth, Naval, Navleen, Sandeep? I guess yesterday he told. Okay, experienced. Okay, that's good. New. Nice. Okay, it's already 2 minutes over. We'll start the session. I hope today I might not extend the session to like yesterday. We'll see. Okay, so please don't mind if I'm extending the session. Okay, yes, indeed. That's great. That's good. Yeah, once again, welcome to the session. So, yeah, today is also a demo session, second day of the demo session for the batch Linux administrator. And again, let me quickly go through the general information. The first three sessions will be for free. And from the fourth session, the Zoom link will be, a new link will be generated and will be given to only the paid candidates for this batch. And the first two sessions recording, including today's date, will be available in the YouTube channel. Okay? And yeah, today I didn't shown you the YouTube channel, right? So let me quickly show you that. And I also can verify if it is uploaded or not. Just a sec, I'm opening this one. Yeah, you see this one? Just go to YouTube and search for Logic Labs Technologies, and you will end up in this. Click on videos, and you will see the yesterday's recording. And you can see my previous recordings as well. Okay, so I've been in this institute for almost 3 years. So you can see my previous recordings. And I used to teach during weekends as well, but we are not doing that anymore. So yeah, you can even see that if there will be around 2 hours session will be there somewhere. Okay, you can go through my previous recording, and if you're fine with my way of approach or my way of training, you can enroll for the batch. Okay, so this is the YouTube channel link. I'll just send that in the chat. Okay, so and if obviously you guys might be already in the part of this community, WhatsApp community. If not, I will give this link as well. Just have it handy. Just join this one. This is mainly for my availability or the session is postponed or anything related to that session, it will be posted. Means this session, Linux patch, it will be posted in this WhatsApp community. Okay? And as I told, the recordings, notes, everything will be available in the portal. And the support team, you can contact, let's say you're not in India, you want to do a payment or any issue while you're doing a payment or any technical issue or like if you're having issue with the course, right? If you want to ask a doubt, but it is like after the session time, you can reach out to the support team. They will connect it with me and we will figure it out. Okay. But the timing is from Monday to Saturday between the business hours is 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. IST. Okay. And this is the support mail ID. And yeah, these are all the social media links. This is the official portal. Yeah. So you'll start the demo 2 session. So the first thing, as I told yesterday, we'll be doing the booting procedure. Okay. Why booting procedure is very, very important? As I told yesterday, it is the very basic, and as a sysadmin, you must know how it works. That is the thing. It is a necessity. Okay, so you must know it because, as I told, you will be handling thousands of servers. And if a server is stuck in, let's say, grub or kernel, or if a server is not even booting, it is keep on rebooting, right? So these are all the basic scenarios. There is much more. Okay, so these are all like 10% of the scenarios of you might face in the real time. So in that case, you need to understand where it is failing. You cannot simply ask like someone senior every time. Obviously, you can ask for the first time, but not every time. You need to figure it out yourself. So for that, you need to have an understanding of the booting process. Then only you can figure it out. And that's the reason this is the important question in the interviews. It used to be, not anymore. It is the saturated question. But some questions, so some companies even now they ask this question. Okay, fine. Let's see one by one how it is done using Paint. I will explain. So since a few people told why I asked if you're already experienced with IT or not, because you might not have an idea, or the people who are already experienced also might not have a basic understanding of the server hardware. You need to have a basic understanding of hardware. Then only you can address the right team, right? So again, it totally depends on your company where you're placed. There might be a dedicated team just for the hardware, or there might not be. You are the one who might figure it out and give or engage the respective team. Okay, so it totally depends on the company, but having an understanding of basic hardware is very important, especially as a sysadmin. Okay, so you cannot simply or blindly say it will be a CPU issue. You cannot speculate in a production environment, right? So no one can, or no one should not, right? So because at the end it is a production issue. Also, it is business is being impacted. What if let's say this website is not loaded? That is a huge issue with Google Drive, right? So this website Google Drive is down for let's say 1 hour. They will lose in million or even billions of dollars within 1 hour. You might think that okay, that is nothing, but in business that is everything. That 1 hour they might lose thousands of like users, or the data might be lost since it is a storage drive, right? So like that, you need to acknowledge it in a different way. Okay, so you should not see it in a very straight way, because not only your team is affected, it is throughout the business, it is like a ripple effect. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, coming to the hardware. So before that, the very first thing what you do while you power on the machine, it's really pressing the power on button only. So power on or off, you press that button. Okay, once you do that, it goes through a process called as post. Okay, so it is nothing but power on self test. And this is not part of the booting process. Anyhow, you need to power on anyhow, right? So for sure, that post will happen. What is that post is? Let me let me type this one. I will go to my. I will show my motherboard. Currently, my system is running this motherboard. This is a PC, by the way. Okay, and it might be a good image. Okay, this is a good image. It's not loading. One second. Okay. Fine. So this is the motherboard, and in your work environment or your data centers, right? So the server motherboard won't be the same. Okay. Obviously, the layout won't be the same, but the core components will be exactly like this. Okay. So firstly, what are all the core components? You have, this is the CPU slot, right? And each CPU series, okay, so it or CPU family um, won't match. It's not like, okay, I have a CPU. Can it match with every motherboard? Obviously, no, right? So each motherboard has its own set of CPU series which it supports. Only if it supports, you need to plug it and then only it will work. And CPU is very sensitive part. You need to be very careful while inserting. Again, you won't do all this in your work environment, but having an understanding of this is very, very important, right? So this is the CPU slot, and this is your memory slot, or it is called as DIMM slots, DIM, DIMM slots. Okay, there is around four in a commercial use or as an end user like us, but in your production service, there might be even eight. Okay. So that is the one. And this is the power connector for the motherboard. And same thing goes here. This is a 24 pin connector. And if I scroll down, and this is the north bridge, by the way. Okay. And these are all the input output. So yeah. And below, this is the south bridge. And here you have the PCIe slot. Okay. So let me just give it here. PCIe slot. Here you can connect not only GPU, you can connect Ethernet card. Okay, so Ethernet card and many things. If you want uh, an amplifier or a specific audio device you want to connect, you have an PCA slot. It is a common standard slot. Okay, so you can use that. You see one, two, three, four, five, six are there. Okay, so the six PCA slots are there, and you have this storage. So I'm not sure if you can see it clearly. So this one, right, small chip. So this is nothing but the M.2 storage, and it is an SSD. The storage you have multiple ways of or multiple types. Okay, so by default the storages or mostly we are used to know is HDD or hard disk drive. Right? There is one more which is commonly used in anywhere these days. It is solid state drive. Okay. And there used to be one drive, and even now companies use that. But as an end user, very rarely people use it. It is called a state drives. Okay. So yeah, these three are the storage. Obviously, floppy CD-ROM is there, but as a huge size, you cannot store those, or those are all kind of obsolete these days. So only you have hard disk SSD, and SSD is much preferred in companies or yeah, as an end user. Even I have two SSDs in my system. So yeah, and this slot is a one way of interface, like SSD, and it is called as M.2 SSD. It is a type of interface. So you even have serial ATA, SATA interface, right? So, and hard disk also uses SATA. So now, quickly, let me show you the difference between HDD versus SSD. Because you need to see the size difference or how it works. And please don't mind, my internet is very slow today. So yeah, yeah, this is the very good important image. Let me see that side only. Not sure why it is up. Let it load. So the actually the hard disk, right? It's literally there is a disk which is spinning at a specific RPM. The RPM is again it is 7,200 RPM rotations per minute for the hard disk, and it is a SATA connection. Okay, and for SSD, and this is a SATA connection. Okay. So you see this pin, the same pin or the size, everything will be the same in hard disk also. Okay, so and in SSD there is no moving parts. Okay, it is just like a huge version of your pen drive. You can understand it like a pen drive. Okay, so yes. Then what is the major difference between those? The performance. The SSD can scale up, or the best thing about SSD or why companies prefers that is the speed, the transfer speed at which it works. So SSD can max out. Uh, I'm not sure these days, but it is at least uh, 50 GB per second. Okay, so it is PCIe Gen 5. That is the latest one. So it is maximum 50 GB per second it is. Whereas in hard disk, the maximum you can push it is uh, 3 GB or 5 GB maximum. I'm not sure these days, but it that itself is a very hard thing. So okay, so that is the issue with hard disk because it is physically it is spinning and you are limited to that. Whereas here it is totally digital and sorry, digital in the sense the chip, right? So there is no spinning part or there is no heating or any physical damage. Very hardly you will damage your SSD and all, whereas hard disk is prone to damage. And but yeah, this is the difference between both. Okay, so literally there is a around 5 to 6 plates will be there. Depends on the size of your hard disk, right? So yeah, and the difference is yes, cost. SSD is way costlier compared to hard disk, and tape drives is way cheaper compared to hard disk content. So yeah, okay. So tape drives are nothing but your actual tape recorders we used to use, right? Similarly, there is a tape drive. I might show you quickly that one. In data centers, even now companies use this. There is a major players are there, like even Intel have their own tape drive, and IBM, mainly IBM actually. You see, IBM standalone tape drives. You might see that, okay, if you see the price of it, it is costly, but compared to SSD, it is way cheaper. SSD or hard disk because it stores like TBs of data, and yeah, as a consumer grade also you can use like this one. Fine. So literally, it is a magnetic strip, just like your tape recorder. Okay? So yeah. Fine. So now coming back to the motherboard. So these are all the these are all the components here. And why this is important for host? Because let's say if one component is not connected correctly, it won't boot only. So especially your CPU is not connected or your it is a faulty CPU. Okay, either one will be applicable. Or if the CPU fan is not spinning, right? So heat dissipation, if it is not happening, your system literally won't turn on in some cases. Again, not every time. Some cases it might even turn on and within few minutes it will turn on because your CPU fan is not running or there is no efficient power supply. Some random reason it will be. Okay, so literally all the components here is prone for some damage or anything can happen at any time because we won't even see the data center. Anything can happen in the data center also, right? So it can be there can be a natural calamity also, like a flood or earthquake, right? So anything it can be resulting in that one. Or let's say the RAM slots it is not connected correctly. Okay, so that is also might be the reason it is not detected. Okay, so that is the reason it goes through this post. It will send a small voltage of current to everything, every component, then it will actually you cannot see here there is a amber lights here. Okay, so if the lights are turned on, it will turn on and immediately it will turn off. If it is staying in one thing, it means that is having an issue, let's say CPU, memory and BIOS. Okay, so if it is turned on in any one, then it is your system won't even boot. Okay, you need to figure out if it is a hardware issue also. Okay, fine. So that is the host. Then what is the next one? And this is the actual or the official booting procedure. Now your system is turned on. The very first thing system looks for is called as BIOS. Now what is BIOS? Full form is basic input output system. Okay. Now why we need a BIOS, right? So BIOS is, let me quickly show you the BIOS of this one. Yes, not YouTube video. Yeah, it's fine. Let it load. Oh, let me go to the site again. So BIOS has the information for everything, like your CPU speed, your RAM speed, and the speed is calculated in hertz. Okay, so So like this, megahertz, gigahertz, right? So like that, it has been calculated, and you have the CPU temperature, and you have the CPU information, memory, and everything. Okay, well, let me show you the image. So it's going to this one. This, um, it's why I'm showing MSI, because this is the one currently I'm using. It, the UI will be different for sure. Okay, so don't think that okay, this will be the UI in your production servers also. Obviously, it will look like this is a kind of a gaming style, or you can call it. There is a theme here, whereas in your production servers, it will be like a blue screen. I will show you in the servers. Okay, MSI is a brand, Vamshi. It is a motherboard brand or a vendor. Okay, so yeah, just like you have uh, who else is there? Gigabyte is there, Acer, right? So like that, MSI is a motherboard brand, and even they have their own set of laptops also. Okay, so yeah, fine. So this is the BIOS screen, and you see so many information here. It is a cluster of information, and the most important one is your speed at which your CPU and memory can run. So why speed is important is actually there is a concept called as overclocking, and you won't do that in your production servers. Okay, so if you do the overclocking, uh, it will increase the voltage as well as the heat dissipation, right? So which is bad, and it totally depends, right? So I'm not sure the companies which I work, they never overclock. Okay, so it totally depends on the company. And so, okay, but that is the speed. So this CPU speed is 3.6 gigahertz, and some CPU can go till 5 gigahertz or even 6 nowadays, which is insane because the performance is like 10 times more than what you're used to with, in your laptops, especially, right? So the same thing goes for your memory, and these are all the information. Okay, the most important one more information in your BIOS is boot priority order. This one. So this is one of the most important because this is what is deciding what should be the next step, right? So without going through the priority order, the system won't even boot. Let's say your priority order is somehow messed up, the system won't boot. As simple as that. Okay. So priority order makes total sense and very, very important it is. Okay. Now, let's say the priority order is the uh, list or order. It is hard disk and SSD and CD-ROM and USB drive, some random thing I'm mentioning. Okay. So let's say the first thing it is trying to boot is the hard disk, and what if that hard disk is an empty one? It won't boot only. Why? Because it is not configured to boot. It doesn't have a boot sector. Okay, what is boot sector? I will explain in a moment, but that's what. If it is an empty hard disk or empty SSD, it doesn't boot. Okay, so you need to format it or you need to install a new operating system, then only it will work. Fine. So the next one here is NDR. Okay, so let's say you selected the hard disk as the first or the boot disk. Okay, so here, and you won't see this in while you're booting or even in Windows or anywhere, you won't see this NBR. What is NBR now? Let me explain. But before that, I'm just giving this one and the different tracks. Okay, so these are all different tracks in your device. So firstly, what is MBR? It is master boot record. Okay, so let me give it a thought. There are two types of partition. One is NDR and another one is GPT. So NDR full form is Master Boot Record. GPT full form is GUID partition. How you plan my expose content you are going to train us effectively. I already went through that yesterday's session, Naresh. If you didn't join yesterday, please go through that. All the course content we did discuss yesterday. Okay, so yes, the recording is already in the YouTube channel. So let me give once again for your reference. Go through that, right? Right. So this is the MBR and GPT. So MBR is master boot record and GPT full form is GUID partition table. Now, what is this firstly? But before that, which OS uses MBR? Nothing but Linux. And GPT is used by Windows. Okay. Why? Okay, so now you might ask why. But what is the difference first? So MBR means it is both are the partitioning style. So why we need to do a partitioning? Let me show you. So in disk management for my Windows machine, without partitioning, let's say this is an empty disk. Okay, just for understanding, this is a new disk I connected. Now it will be like this. Okay, so as of now it is formatted, but it will be like this black color box, which is showing as unallocated because it is and your hard disk is actually called as block device. Not only hard disk, any storage device are called as block devices. Okay, moving forward, I might even mention it as block device. So it is nothing but storage, right? So your it is bunch of empty blocks, and it is not. It doesn't know what it is, right? So we need to give define it that okay, you need to use this file system, or you need to use this this much block forms one sector, or this much sector forms one track. Like that, multiple informations are there, and that information is called as metadata. Okay, and for the people who are very new to IT, metadata is a very common term. But if you're very new to IT, so there is a easy way for me to explain that is if you see any Excel, you have a topic or the very first row. Let me open this in an image. So you have this one, right? Let me do this one as well. Yeah. So what if this line is, let's say, you don't see, or this line is somehow hidden, means this row is hidden. Can you figure out what this below data is? It is obsolete, right? So it means it doesn't make any sense, the below data. So, so obviously this number, what it is, no one knows. What is the central? Obviously, these are all names, and still you cannot figure out it is a first name, last name, right? What is this F column G? You never know, right? So that's the reason this is a metadata of this sheet, right? Like that, you have a metadata for each and every disk or each and every partition. Each partition, this also has a metadata. Partition also has one, right? So how many blocks are there? And all those are decided by this partitioning table or partition style, right? So it is NBR. And why then there is a GPT? Why can't we use MBR? Because there is a huge limitation with MBR. And even now that is a limitation. Why? Because in MBR, you can maximum use only 4 primary partitions, which is very less, actually speaking, which means in one disk, you can create only 4. Here I have 2, you see, right? So 2 partitions. I can create 2 more, that's it. Okay, and the 4th partition will be called as logical, which I will explain later. If I explain that now, that is a separate topic, only logical partitions, extended partitions and all. But as of now, understand each and every partition here is primary partition. And I have 2 in this disk. Okay, Like that, I can create only 4 in MDR, and in Windows or in GPT, you can create 128 primary path, which is insane, right? So we see the difference. And obviously, GPT came after NDR, and NDR is still the default one in Linux, not only Linux, legacy servers, the old servers like HP Unix, IBM AX, right? So like that older operating systems still use MDR only. Only option it is MDR. Okay. So because it's been there for ages. Okay. Even though as technology wise we grown, the concept stays the same and it works with the older like older devices and all. So they didn't modify it or they didn't release an update for this one. Okay. So that is the partition style and you don't choose it. Even in Windows, you never see an, let's say you've done Windows installation, you never see an option or you might never see this GPT ever mentioned. Why? Because it is by default selected. If you go to any disk, right click properties, go to volume, you see the partition style, it is GPT. Okay. And can we, now you might question that, okay, can we convert GPT to MBR? Yes, you can convert to MBR disk, you see. But you are, why it is grayed out? Because currently this disk is live. And if you try to like, try to make it offline and convert, it will convert, but it is not recommended. Okay, very, very important. It is not at all recommended. In Windows, MBR will work, yeah, but it is not recommended again by Windows themselves. So better use GPT for Windows, and MBR is the recommended one in Linux. Okay, so that is the partition style. Again, in Linux also, you never choose or you never see that in the booting process, but it is an important step actually. You never see this actually in your while you boot, right? So yeah, but here the most important one is the boot disk or boot partition. So what it will boot is the next step, which is grub. Okay, so let me show you the grub screen. So grub is a very, very interesting one. Why? Because this is the deciding factor if you want to choose between Linux or Windows. And if you have a dual boot, okay, so for the people who are very new to IT or in general, there is, you can actually have multiple operating system installed, not virtually. Don't confuse this with virtualization. That is a different topic. We will cover that for sure. Not like this. Okay, so this is a different thing. Within the disk itself, while booting, you can choose between Linux or Windows. Obviously, you cannot use Mac. It is proprietary for Mac, MacBook only, right? So Linux and Windows. And you can have different versions of Linux. Let's say Arch Linux. It's like this. You can use. Okay. And you can even have so many operating systems. But the issue is only one OS you can boot at a time. You cannot try to, or you cannot even instruct the system to boot to multiple uh, operating systems, right? So in order to choose which one to boot, that is nothing but your grub. Okay. So, and grub full form is Grand Unified Bootloader. And this grub screen is in your Linux or any machine you take. Grub is there. Not only Linux, your Windows or your in general, like your computers, it will be there, laptop, your mobile, right? Tablet, any device you take, there will be a grub. Now you might question that, okay, I have only one OS. Still, it will go through the grub. Okay, so obviously in this case, there are multiple OS. So it makes sense that to choose which one I need to choose to boot. But what if I have only Linux? Still, it will go through grub. Okay, so because grub is the step which is important for the next one. Next step is kernel. So in order to load kernel, grub will be there for sure. Okay, so yes. So let's say you choose an Linux, and I will show you this grub layout, some Google image, because grub screen Windows and Linux. If you search for, you guys for sure would have seen this, and even now while booting to your machine, you might have seen this one, right? So this is for Windows, and yeah, right? So if you have multiple OS, it will ask you to choose between them. You can even install Windows 10 twice. Okay, so Windows 11 or Windows 10 and 11 also you can install in the same device. Okay, so or you can use some other. It's totally your choice. And like this is the one, and the common layout is this one, right? So GNU grub screen. This is the very common one. So here you see you have Ubuntu and Windows NT, a very old one. So that's the thing. Okay. And let me give one more example. So here you see Ubuntu and Windows Boot Manager. So like that, you can choose between different one, and there are some open source forum for you can even customize this GUI. You see this is quite eye pleasing, right? So pleasing, and you can change the UI and all. So again, it's an open source uh, one. So yeah, okay. So that is your grub screen. And how about the next one? Next one is the most important one, or the backbone of your system, which is nothing but your kernel. Okay. So, and if it's just stuck in the grub screen, means let's say a corrupted kernel is there, or again, it is a every time you won't face this issue, but it might be. Let's say some disk is um, changing to read only, or it is having a storage controller issue, right? So, so many issues are there. If it is storage or the disk itself is not working, the boot disk, the system will try to boot to grub and it won't find the kernel only. Or if it is found also, it cannot boot since the data is corrupted. So it will again try to start, means your system will try to reboot. So it will do a boot loop. Again and again, it will do that until you fix it, it will keep on rebooting only. Okay, so that is the thing. Fine. So that is next one is the kernel. So why I'm mentioning this as an important one, because it does almost everything. Okay, so kernel is that much important. And if you see the size of it, it will be just 10 to 30 MB. That's it. But it does almost everything like disk management, right? So process, whatever we discussed, it will be performed under or under the guidance of kernel. Okay. And your device manager means your drivers to your system, right? This one. So in Windows, you have literally a thing called as device manager, and all the devices connected to the system. This is act as a mediator or a middleman. So let's say you plug in a new, okay, maybe new mouse, but it is not detected because this driver might be outdated or it is not detected correctly. Let's say you bought uh, from a different vendor or something, right? So it is not detected. So you need to download the correct driver, then only it will work. Same thing goes for network or anything. So this is what called as drivers. It is a middleman which connects the hardware and software, right? So without drivers, your none of the device will be detected only, the hardware devices. Similarly here, a kernel does that. Okay, so the device manager and much more. Okay, so I'm not mentioning everything that will take 1 to 2 hours. So this is the basic or the bare minimum that this itself is a lot, right? So yeah, and kernel yesterday I shown you, right? That is the basic kernel for Linux in general, and Red Hat kernel is also there. Okay, so I will show you. Oh, anyhow, once we are done with this one, I will show you the kernel and not only kernel, the whole booting process within the server. Okay, so that is the thing. And let me quickly move on to the next one, which is init process. So you figured out everything. Okay, so let's say your system is booting and kernel is also fine, which is great. And the next step is how your system need to be booted. You need a GUI, CLI, or a single user, multi-user, right? So you have a choice to choose from. Okay. And this concept is even in Windows, it is there. It is called a system configuration. You just type sys or system configuration in your search, and you will see this option. Go to boot, and here you see an option called a save boot. Check this, and if I select minimal, and if I press apply and OK and reboot, my system won't even have a network, first thing, and it won't have any third-party software, let's say Roblox or anything except the inbuilt one, like let's say calculator, camera, all are inbuilt applications. Except that, none of the third-party applications will be available in safe boot. Okay. And what if I select network? Network driver will be loaded. The same thing, but including network driver. Okay. So this is the thing. And if I selected no GUI boot, you see, even in Windows, you can convert it to a CLI. This is the option, no GUI boot if you do. And if I press apply and OK, and if I restart, it will be like which one? MS-DOS. Like only, this is what you will see. There won't be a start menu, nothing, just this. Okay. So that is the options in your Windows. How you are going to approach the system, which way you're going to interact with the machine. So in order to choose that, this is the option. In Linux, it is called, in Windows, it is system configuration, right? In Linux, it is called as init. Okay. And in it, there are multiple levels. I will go one by one. So init 0 means it is shutdown sequence. It will initiate the shutdown sequence. So now, okay, now this doesn't match with what I explained with Windows, okay? But that's how it is. So init 0 is a signal which will initiate the shutdown sequence. But the next one, init 1 means it is a single user or emergency. So now what is this? The single user mode means only you can use it. And now you may ask, okay, even now only I am using it. What is the difference? Because single user mode is nothing but console view. This view, since my system is turned off, or if I turn on also, before booting, it is a single user mode. Only I can see what it is showing. You're getting the point, right? There is no remote connection, or it is not went through the internet also. Okay, so that is what called a single user mode. I will anyhow show it. Okay, then you will see, and it is also called as emergency mode. And init 2, it is multi-user without init. And same thing goes for init 3. I will explain what is multi-user with init. So firstly, what is multi-user? Right, so obviously, any operating system, it is multi-user. Is it so? No, actually speaking. Obviously, everyone must log into the server. That's the whole point of having a server. But the issue is you cannot open multiple sessions for the same user. Let me explain it clearly. So here you have user A or anyone. Okay, so user A is trying to access the admin. Let's say he's a sysadmin, right? So administrator in Windows Server. Okay, so this is Windows Server. Any version you can take, 2016 or something. Same user B, he is also belong to the same team, and he is also having an administrator credentials. Obviously, they belong to the same thing, right? If he is trying to make a new session or trying to connect to the same server, this guy's session will be terminated actually. At a time, only one session is possible. This session will be terminated. This guy's session will be up. Okay, even now this is an issue, and natively there is no solution yet, even now. Okay, so this is a major issue with Windows that you cannot log in with the same user. Again, there is a security reason, but still, even as an admin, natively you cannot do that. Whereas in Linux, it is solved via TTY. We will see that. Okay, not now, but it is called as multiple sessions are allowed natively and very easily. Let me turn on VM and explain it clearly. I can open multiple sessions for the same server. It doesn't affect. I can open like thousands of sessions also. It doesn't affect. Okay, the performance or anything. Why in Windows it is a huge issue is Windows is a GUI. It is heavily GUI intensive. So obviously it doesn't allow, but they can give a workaround. There is a workaround actually, but natively it doesn't work much, or there is no native workaround by Windows themselves. There is a third party workaround, which is not that reliable again. Okay, so one second, let me log into the machine. I think so. This is the password. Oh, oh, just a sec. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the IP. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, right. Now I opened one remote connection. It is the same server, but even within the same machine itself, I'm opening it remotely. And this is how you connect a remote connection. We will discuss this extensively, not now, but if I open one more duplicate session, you see, seamlessly we can do that, right? So like this, I can open thousands of sessions in different thousands of servers also, or missions. Still it will work. Okay, there won't be any issue because it is working via different sessions, which is called as PTY. Okay, so we will see this one, not now, right? So coming back to the concept, this is what called as multi-user mode and without network. Okay, so the init2 means the same option I shown in Windows, right? So you don't have a network adapter or network driver itself won't be loaded. In init3, and this is a CLI mode, and this is the standard which is used. Okay, so init3 this multi-user with network. Obviously, without network, no, nothing will, no other device will be there, especially in production or in your work environment. So that's there. And init 4 is nothing is there. Okay, you can ignore that. Init 5, it is GUI or XLAN. So basically, this is the actual GUI mode, and this is also a standard one. And what is the init level in my cases? I can just type. I can go here also, right? I can type init level or sorry, run level. I can see N5, which means init 5, this one, right? So because it's since I'm using a GUI version, you're getting the point, right? So my default run level or default booting option for the interface especially is GUI. Can I change it? Yes. But anyhow, we will use GUI only. Okay, so yeah. In your work environment, the default one will be init 3. Okay, the init 6 is nothing but the reboot. Again, it will initiate the reboot sequence. So how it works is if I type init 6, enter, now the system will reboot. Just like that. Okay, so again, it will take some time let it reboot. But this is the init levels. You see, the system will reboot since we given this signal 6, init 6. So these are all the init levels. Right. So the next one here is it is also similar to init, which is called as run level. So run level is nothing but Run level is nothing but your startup programs. What are all the, it won't ask us for something. No, it doesn't ask, Naresh. Okay, so just like that, it will reboot. Not only here, in almost anything in Linux, it doesn't ask for a confirmation. Okay, just like that, it will execute almost everything. Okay, very, very few commands ask for confirmation. Like you still want to proceed like that. But in Windows, almost everything it asks for it. There will be a warning or a dialog box that do you really want to proceed? Do you want to save anything? But in Linux, it doesn't. Okay, so yeah, in so this is called as run level. So here in Windows, you have this option called a startup. In Task Manager, if you go to Task Manager and Startup, you see this one, right? What is this basically is you these are all third-party softwares. It is not bundled with Microsoft, okay, or your OS. And these softwares need to be loaded along with my OS. Okay. So that's the reason it is under startup applications. Again, you can enable, disable. I did disable quite a few, but like this, it will be right. Similarly, you can initiate an application along with your OS. That's what called as run level. And you even have a path called as /etc /init.d. Okay. And there is even a separate path called as etc rc and rc.d/rc/t. Like this. Okay. And these are all run level. Mostly it will be init.d is what you will initiate. Like let's say HTTP or a web server, right? So that should be initiated along with the OS. So in that case, it will be added in the init.d like that. Okay. So next thing is your actual lock screen. That's it. Your system is booted and you'll be seeing the lock screen. So in order to see your lock screen or in order for the system to boot, it will go through all these. This is the system is rebooted, right? So yes, fine. So these are all the process. Again, I'm just giving a basic idea. Just with BIOS, I can go on for almost 2 hours, and MBR for 2 hours or 3 hours like that. Okay, because we can like how to say like I can explain each and everything. I didn't I just a surface level we saw, and to be frank, you need not have that much in-depth knowledge as of now, especially for this booting process. You will eventually, but not right away, because it will be a lot and it is kind of a deviation for you, right? So you need not know everything about this one. Okay, just a basic idea, because if something went wrong, you need to figure out where it is stuck, right? So that's the thing. Understood. So these are all the booting process. Any doubts in this one? Please do let me know. And yeah, so for the next session, the lab, right? So we are yet to initiate the lab. But anyhow, in the next session, I'll be explaining you the difference between virtualization and containerization, right? So that is very, very important. Without knowing virtualization, we cannot proceed with the batch. Okay, very, very, very important concept. So we need to understand that. And for the lab, actually, we are going to use a RHEL OS 8.4. Okay, and this link is not working. The new link is this one. Yeah, this is the link. Okay, so tiny.cc/linux resource. If you go to this link, this is actually a URL shortcut. Okay, I will give this in the chat as well. So all the resources related to our course will be posted here. Again, not notes. Notes will be posted in the portal only. Here you have the question paper. Yesterday I didn't even show you the question paper for the RHCSA exam. Okay, So this is the question paper which we will discuss. Okay. So again, I'm not obviously you can clear Vamshi. That's the whole point of this batch only. For sure you can clear this exam. Okay. So that's what. This is the model question paper. And trust me, you will get almost the same because we are touching every topic, right? So there is a user management, this is permissions, this is AutoFS, NTP config. Each question is a separate topic only. Okay, so that's the reason I mentioned yesterday as this course is tailored around this question paper or exam. Why? Because each and every question is a separate topic. That is the interesting thing about this exam. And that is also the reason companies prefer this exam as uh, it has its own credibility. That's the reason. Because you literally have an idea about everything. The basic idea again. Okay, so yes. Okay. Shell scripting, I will try, Naresh. Okay, so because that needs some more understanding, like how if statement, for loop, and those things works. If time permits, we will cover that. If not, I will include that in this resource page. Okay, I'll do a recording and I will include that in the resource page. Don't worry. Okay? So these are all the questions, and please do bookmark this link or have this link saved somewhere in your notes or anywhere. Okay, so that will redirect to this drive link, and for the people who cannot access this uh, URL shortener if it is not working for you, access via this drive link, which I posted just now. Okay, so yes, so moving forward, everything will be practical and it must be practical, right? So it is not like purely theory part because for sure few theory part must be covered. You must understand that. So it will be a bit dry, like at least for first 2 to 3 days. You need to know what is shell because many new people will be there for Linux, right? So for the people who already know, please don't skip it because it might be a revamp for you. Right? So yeah, it doesn't hold the details now. Okay, so MBR is the one provisioning the details. It doesn't hold it. It is what defining what is how what. Just for your example, let me take this one. Okay. So what is this size? Let's say this is around 1,000 blocks is there under this, and 10,000 blocks is there under this sector, right? So this kind of information, it will be as a block or the block information is there. The one which provision that block information, right? That one will be stored by MBR. Okay, so just like your Excel. Okay, so it is like let me show you. So in Excel, block size, right? So sector size and track tracks count. Okay, and this is for one sector, let's say, and total sector size sectors, right? So like that, there is a lot of yeah. So there is a lot of information here. So this line is called as metadata. Okay, so it is metadata. Okay, and your NBR is responsible for storing this metadata. It doesn't need to store everything, right? So this always will be in the same disk only, the remaining how much size and all. But the one which it stores is metadata, or one which it is responsible is metadata. Okay, yeah. And not only that, it does much more, as I told, the primary partition and logical partition, extended partition, so many are there. We will discuss those later. Okay, so while we do the disk management, we will see it thoroughly and all that. Okay, and for the lab, so we just bookmark this link, and I want you guys to download this ISO. Okay, so you just go to installation files and download this rel-8.4.iso, and this is an official one. Okay, I uploaded to Google Drive just for your convenience, because if you try to download from Red Hat, you need to log in. Okay, so again, you can create an account. It doesn't take much time, but still, you can download this one. And nowadays, it is very hard to get an older image. Okay, so they are trying to push Rel 10, which is accepted, but because that is the latest version. But Rel 8.4 is more than enough for our batch and for the exam also. Okay, so you can configure this or download this as well as this VMware Workstation Pro. This last file, right? And this is for the Windows user, guys. Okay, is there any Mac users in our batch? If so, you need to download VM Fusion. Okay, so VM Fusion, and this is a paid software, unfortunately. Um, yeah, you need to download the evaluation copy, which is for, I think they are giving 1 year of evaluation copy, if I'm not wrong. So you can download from the official VMware site only. Okay, VM Fusion it is. And Workstation is for Windows. And this you might ask, okay, this is also a paid software. Yes, but I do have a key which is for lifetime. So you just open this VM workstation installation. Anyhow, I will show the installation part tomorrow, but not VMware, because I need to remove this VM, uninstall, reinstall. That is a lot of thing, lot of step it will be. But it is just like any other installation for Windows, right? So you just download that, double click. Next, it will initiate the install. It will take hardly 2 minutes. Okay, it will install, and this is the key. You just need to enter that license key when it is asking for, like this. Okay, enter license key. It is the same license key for everyone. Okay, so you use that and do install VMware Workstation Pro, and don't do anything with ISO, this Rail 8.4. We will configure it tomorrow if time permits. If not, day after tomorrow, we will do. Okay. And like if for the people who are having less CPU core or a very old laptop, obviously you can use this in 5 to 7 years old laptop also you can use. But let's say you are having a company laptop, means your office laptop, you cannot install any software like this, whatever I'm mentioning here, right? So in that case, you need to rely on AWS. Okay, AWS. I will show you how to install and everything in next session or a day after that. So yeah, okay. But please try to download this ISO for tomorrow. If not download also totally fine, because we will be discussing the virtualization and containers. But if you're downloaded, that's good. We will configure also at the last. Okay. And these are all the system requirement for the software. Only one CPU core, and how I can see my CPU core, you can see in multiple ways in Windows. So the easiest way is go right click in taskbar, task manager, performance, click on CPU and click on cores. Oh, sorry, you just see in the course, we have 8. In my case, I have 8. In your case, you might have 8, 4, right? So 12. Totally depends on your laptop configuration. If you're having only 2, I don't recommend you to use VMware. Okay, 2 is very rare scenario. That's the reason I mentioned very old laptop. Right. So in that case, yeah. So you don't have a choice. You should use AWS, which is totally fine. It is the exact same thing you will be doing in the AWS. And the AWS is using in browser only will be using, right? So that's fine. The same thing goes for memory. 8 GB is more than enough. Okay. So yeah. And yeah, only 1 GB will be allocating to the server. 1 or 2 GB also is fine. But minimum 1 GB it must have free just for the VM. And 30, obviously this space will be there. So you need not worry about this one. But yeah, this is the system requirement for the local installation. For AWS, there is no requirement only. It is free here. Uh, right. So yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Any doubts, anyone? And today's recording will be available in the YouTube channel. Okay? Any doubts with the course or content or anything, please do let me know. Also, please do see the older recordings. Okay, so and if the time is you are having issue with the time, let's say you cannot join every day at 8 p.m. You even have a recording as well. Sorry, not this. Self-paced recordings. So the older batch recording is there. You can enroll here. Okay, exactly the same thing you will see. The content, my previous batch it is. So yes, see this one. Okay. Yeah, along with the notes. So every day like this only it will be uploaded. So like this. Okay, so the session and the notes. Right. We can use the latest one, Sajid. There is nothing harm in it, but the issue is sometimes it is a CPU intensive and it is not compatible with people. I did try Rail 8 9.5, which is the latest, and even 10. Okay, so if 10 is in beta, okay, so that is not recommended. So 9.5, you can use it. I'm not denying it, but this is way easier for your lab as well as every software which we are going to use it be compatible. Okay, and there is literally zero difference between both RHEL 9 and 8. Okay, so as an end user or for our course, it is you won't see any difference because we are not doing some advanced configuration or something, right? So we are just doing the basic thing and intermediate level. So for that, this is more than enough, and it is compatible with some other version also. So let's say if you are familiar with VirtualBox, you can use this version. Okay, so sometimes this new version doesn't work in or doesn't compatible with VirtualBox or some other virtualization tool like Vagrant, right? So like that, yeah, you're getting the point, right? So yes, so obviously you will get a support Valentine. Means let's say you're stuck somewhere or you're having an doubt or issue, you just drop an email here. Team will connect it with me and we can figure it out. Yeah. So yeah, and don't worry about the remote connection, everything. We will discuss the installation part, everything. Okay. And this virtual box, why I am not using virtual boxes, it is the network driver is actually an issue with virtual box. Sometimes you need to manually activate the network driver in your Windows machine, which is a bit annoying. Every time you need to do. Okay, so one more important reason is VMware is what used commonly throughout your most of the companies use VMware. For the people who are already working, they might not know that, right? So VMware vSphere it is, and vSphere also shares almost the same options. And VMware is very stable and it is they are the pioneer of virtualization. Okay, so for sure it is very reliable, and each and every hardware if you add also it won't be an issue. Whereas in VirtualBox or any other, there are multiple things. You even have WSL for Windows, right? So it means like Windows subsystem for Linux. You can use this also. You need not install anything, but still, uh, it is not recommended from my end. Okay, so yes, okay. So because anyhow we are doing a Red Hat, uh, like in your work environment also you will be having a Red Hat, and you are not supposed to use some other versions like Ubuntu or CentOS or something, right? So yeah, fine then. So let's see in tomorrow's session. So for the people who want to install in your system, please do download. If you didn't download, also totally fine. I'm not forcing you to download. So because anyhow tomorrow I will show you how to install, and later also you can download and install. Okay, so totally up to you. But we must have a working lab in any method. Either it can be a local one, it can be in AWS or any method. Okay, so one working lab is important. Any method is fine. Okay, so that's that. Okay, fine then. Let me stop it here. And today's recording will be available in the YouTube channel. Please go through that. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Megha, and thanks, Hitesh. Yeah, thanks all then. Have a good one. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.